senior high students! How are you? I hope that you are all safe and healthy now. It's a great day every day to learn new things. This is RAINNIEL E. Marcos, your teacher for today. Come on, let's listen, watch, and learn. Only here at Ma'am Rain's virtual classroom. I'm very excited to teach you new lessons in reading and writing skills for senior high school. Today, we will have the part 2 of the previous week's lesson with the most essential learning competency, evaluating properties of a well-written text. According to Rodriguez and Tiongson 2016, composing a well-written text is a process which entails a certain amount of complexity, demanding a great deal of precision, and capable of producing a comprehensible text that passes on a message or information. In many cases, the result is far from what would be considered a well-written text. Until today's time, readers and writers see a considerable number of errors even in text by people with some relevant training. Spelling, grammar, and even the flow of the texts must be considered most especially since these are very beneficial for the development of the texts. Generally, identifying and internalizing the importance of the properties of a well-written text can improve your paper, in which it makes it to be interesting to read. It also helps you to make a well-written text that makes your readers use their critical thinking skills to understand the text appropriately. In this session, you will learn the 2 remaining properties of a well-written text. In this session, you will learn 2 more properties of the well-written text. Last week, we had the organization, the coherence, and cohesion. And today, we will be discussing language use and mechanics. Properties of a well-written text are essential to better come up with an effective text or paragraph. Without these properties, the text or paragraph that we are going to produce will not be as effective and understandable as it is. Since we have learned the first 3 properties of a well-written text in week 2 lesson, now let us discuss the 4th and the 5th. The 4th property of a well-written text is the language use. According to Landech 2018, language use is a property of a well-written text that shows appropriateness of vocabulary or vocabulary usage. Words and phrases that you must avoid to use in order to practice appropriate language are too informal, too unsophisticated, and too vague. Remember, it is important to make good choices when it comes to language use, because how a writer uses the language affects the tone of the text and the reader's interpretation of it. Before writing, think about and consider the target audience. Let's have this example. The on-duty guard wanna stay from 6 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the evening at school. As you can see, this sentence uses the word wanna instead of the words wants to, which is more appropriate, in which it makes it to be too informal, so that it should be the on-duty guard wants to stay from 6 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the evening at school. Here's another example. The student gets attention. In this sentence, the word gets is too unsophisticated, in which it makes the sentence lack of complexity. Therefore, it should be the student receives attention to make it more appropriate. Our last example is the people are concerned about their stuff. The word stuff was used in this sentence, and it makes it unclear to understand. The word stuff should be replaced by the word belongings or possessions to avoid making it vague. To be able to achieve successful use of language in a written text, you should always follow some tips from Landage 2018, such as use clear and concise sentences, avoid redundancies, wordiness, cliches, and highfalutin language. Also avoid excessive use of there and it structures, because these sentences can be revised by dropping there and it phrase and transforming the sentences appropriately. Use precise vocabulary. Be accurate and condense lengthy phrases into fewer words. Also, we should be consistent with our pronouns point of view. Avoid sexist language and use appropriate level of formality. In composition, writing mechanics are the conventions governing the technical aspects of writing, including spelling, punctuation, capitalization, and abbreviations. Getting your main points together can be a challenge, and one solution is to put together a draft of main ideas before writing. In written language, spelling is the correct arrangement of letters that form words. To improve spelling skills, you can use a memory device known as mnemonics. This memorable phrase, acronym, or pattern can come in handy for remembering something like the spelling of a word. You can also increase your reading skills by making a list of common words you often misspell or mark words in a dictionary that seem to give you trouble repeatedly. Let's have these some of the most commonly misspelled words. For us to be able to know or to identify what is the correct spelling of a word, we can look at our dictionaries. Next, we have the use of punctuations. Punctuation is the set of marks used to regulate texts and clarify their meanings, mainly by separating or linking words, phrases, and clauses. Let's have this example. As you can see, the difference of these two sentences is simply as putting a comma between the words it and grandma. If we won't put punctuation marks properly, the thought of the sentence might change. Let's take a look at the change in these sentences. The first one is a sentence without punctuation marks except for the period. Let's have a woman without her man is nothing versus a woman without her man is nothing. See the difference? Under the writing mechanics, we also have the abbreviation. It is a shortened form of a word or phrase. Nowadays, since we are in the 21st century, there are lots of abbreviated words that arose. We use abbreviated words not only academically, but personally, just like the BRB, which means be right back, when we would like to inform our textmates or friends. We also have the PM. Formally, it means post meridian, but we can also use it in Messenger just like private message. We also have the word Japan, but it doesn't pertain to the country Japan, but it means just always pray at night. We also have the capitalization. It is the practice of using capital letters in writing or printing. Proper nouns, keywords in titles, and beginnings of sentences are generally capitalized. You will also want to capitalize the letter I under all circumstances. Also, according to Havelosa 2018, Writing mechanics can be successfully done if we will follow this. First, avoid contractions and exclamation points. Second, mention the full name before the abbreviation. Numbers from 0 to 10 must be spelled out. And the most important thing to remember is to always use standard English. Let's have this example. My professor helped me out with the lessons I'd missed before the exam. As you can see, in written text, the misspelled word professor instead of the correct word professor is wrong, as well as using the contracted words I'd instead of I had. In this manner, spelling and contraction of words were used. Alright, senior high school students, we are done now discussing the 5 properties of a well-written text. Last week, we had the organization, coherence, and cohesion. And today, we are done with our discussion with the language use and mechanics. So far, do you have any questions? How about clarifications? How do you find our lesson for today? Did you gain additional lessons that you can carry on as we go along to this subject? If you are fine, let us begin answering your activities. Now, let us check if you understood our lesson. In your class, you have 3 or more items per activity. What we will do now is we will take the first item and try to explain why it is the answer, and you will do the succeeding ones on your own. For general instructions, read carefully the directions indicated in the following exercises, then provide what is needed or asked in each item. For activity A, analyze each statement and correct the errors. Here are the sentences. Number 1. If you pass the entrance exam, I'm gonna buy you a new laptop. Number 2. A manager should always be honest with their employees. Number 3. The free gift was given by the company's executive director during the annual party. Number 4. Mary likes to bake chocolate chip cookies with his mother. And number 5. Please don't distract me when I'm trying to concentrate on my homework. Are you done? Here are the answers. Let's move on to activity B. Instructions. Read the following questions or statements. Choose the letter of the correct answer. Here is the first question or statement. For number 2, number 3, number 4, last item, here are the answers. Let's have activity C. In this activity, it is an identification part. Instructions: read each statement or question below carefully and fill in the blanks with the correct answer. Here are the 10 item identification. are the answers. For our last activity, we have, for your final activity, you have to read the given text taken from www.doh.gov.ph comprehensively. You will see it on pages 4 to 5 of your learning activity sheets. Then, you need to evaluate it using the 5 properties of a well-written text, which are organization, coherence, cohesion, language use, and mechanics, and consequently answer the guide questions given. In this activity, the answers may vary because it depends on how you respond to the guide questions. Now, I would like to say, I wish you all the excellence as you do your best in accomplishing these tasks. Now, let us see how well you reflect on the lesson you have studied. How can you apply what you have learned from this lesson in real life? How can you also apply it in these challenging times? How will you respond as future professionals? I want you to share your goals in life where properties of a well-written text are being used and applied. Do not be afraid to answer because there is no wrong answer in this reflective question, okay? Just be yourself as you share what you have learned from this lesson. Great job, Senior High School! You have successfully finished our lesson for this week. In this lesson, you were able to identify all the properties of a well-written text. You have also learned some of the tips that we must consider in writing a text to make it a well-written one. Most importantly, you learned to evaluate a paragraph based on the properties of a well-written text, and you were able to come up with reasonable evaluation of it. Indeed, this has been a very, very fruitful and productive lesson for you, since it is just a continuation of the previous week's lesson. I hope that you would not forget these learnings, for you can carry them in you or with you as you move forward to the next level of these subjects. Congratulations, senior high school students, for finishing the lesson for today only here at Mom Rain's virtual classroom. Thank you and stay safe. Goodbye!